Welcome to Rick's Corner. I always seem to bring a diversity of guests on here. Yesterday I had Rodney Allen Rippey, who was the Jack in the Box Jumbo Jack guy. And today I have a friend of mine named Danny Lee, who I met in the gym and we started talking. He trains really hard, much harder than I do, and lifts much heavier than I do. Then I find out he's a sportscaster on top of everything else. So I thought talking to him would be interesting to see what he does with his career, how he incorporates his lifting, how he incorporates his diet, and stays in really hard shape. I mean, for the size of him, he can lift like 10 times the weight I do, I think. On my best day.
He flatters me. He flatters me. I'm actually on for my charm. But
yeah, well, that's part of it. So I'm happy to have Danny here. Danny, thanks for coming.
Okay. Glad to be here, Rick.
How old are you?
33.
Oh, geez.
Although I can play younger if you need it.
So can I. I usually play about 18, 19.
There you go.
I told somebody today I wouldn't date anybody my age or older, because I'm probably dead by now. How did you get into lifting? What prompted you to want to become a lifter?
Well, I'll tell you, I've spent about half my life in fitness, interested in like nutrition. When I was younger, I think I started lifting around like 8th grade.
Yeah.
I used to read about, you guys, your generation of lifting. I had Arnold Schwarzenegger's, encyclopedia. I used to watch all the Arnie movies, Pumping Iron, everything. Yeah. And it really, stoked the fires. And I always wanted to get into gyms. Now, I think people don't remember that about 20 years ago, they never used to let you into a gym if you were younger than like 15.
I think it was 16 was the limit. You had to have parents' approval.
Yeah,
exactly.
And I used to, I used to sit outside the gym wanting to get in there, and I couldn't get in. And I'd be like, So I got my own dumbbells at home and started lifting. I was in the 8th grade, and then I started working on high school, and I was the big nutrition guy. They called me Carrot Stick because back then I was doing a lot of running, a lot of cross training, and I was also eating very healthy. I had an obsession with green vegetables. But I read about you guys, and I read about the golden age of bodybuilders, and I said I always want to do that. But then I always wanted to have this thirst for learning about some of the new techniques. Olympic lifting, like ballistic training. So my training now kind of incorporates all of that, the old school, the new school. So I try to get like a happy medium so I can kind of like target all the different dynamics.
You were working out at home with weights?
Yeah.
Would you do biceps from Sears?
Biceps, and I had, I had my own little weight belt, and I would do
dumbbells and a barbell?
Yeah.
What about benches and equipment?
I had a bench. I still actually have it now. It's sitting in storage since I am in the gym now. But yeah, I had all the little, medicine balls and everything and bands.
It's hard to work out at home.
It is. I mean, you have the space constraints, of course.
Well, it's not even that. It's that the day goes by and you say, I think I'll go work out, and you look at the stuff and go,
exactly.
Maybe tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly.
And then changing the plates and the colors and all that kind of stuff, it's like a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
So going to the gym and everything's set up, you go and you leave it.
Yeah,
so much easier.
Very true.
I had a whole gym out here for a long time that somebody gave me. They closed down a gym, so I had all the equipment. Just sat out there for 2 or 3 years. And I just wouldn't use it. I mean, I went out there once and I said, this is not, leaves are falling on me and birds are shitting on me, and I said, no, I'm not going to do this anymore.
Yeah, well, when you're working out at home, it's like the bed's right there. So you figure like a lot of people have like an excuse already. I don't want to go to the gym today. When the bed's literally 3 feet from you, you're like, I'm just going to go to sleep.
Yeah. But I did that when I was like maybe younger, like 16, 17.
Yeah.
I had one dumbbell. 30-pound dumbbell, and I'd sit and I'd do triceps, standing triceps in the mirror for maybe 4 or 5 sets, and maybe seated concentration girls just with that dumbbell, and it actually worked pretty well. Just that one exercise, because I had nothing else to do, but then I go to the gym on top of that.
Yeah, but I think you can attest too. I mean, when you have like literally a paucity of equipment, when you only have like a few pieces of equipment, once you get to a gym, which is like a veritable toy shop, you learn to appreciate doing like those like isolateral, free weight movements. And then when you get into the gym, and then you can kind of mix that in, I think it gives you a good foundation because you don't become reliant on machines or anything. You have the free weight at home, and I'm kind of happy that I had that basis for training because then I learned from there, and then I was able to incorporate all the other things.
Well, the free weights, it's all we had back in the day. I worked at a YMCA, and that's all they had, and the machines were kind of old. They had a pull-down machine with frayed cable that would touch your stomach when you'd use it. The bench press bar was bent, and so it would like loop on you when you go up on it. The dumbbells they had some dumbbells that came out of another gym, but basics. And I made gains on basics.
Sure.
They had a squat rack, no extensions, no leg curls or a calf machine where the weight would swing back and forth and hit you in the shins while you're trying to use it. But if you have the desire to really want to do it, you can do it.
Well, and also too, I wanted to go out and learn, like Zercher squats, and we're talking. I mean, this is even before before the generation of you guys, where racks were a luxury, right? They didn't exist, or you did like hack squats from the ground.
Yeah, holding the bar behind you.
Exactly. So, you know, you go into the gym now, and I don't know if people maybe not appreciate the fact that we got the racks, we got the toys of suspended bars, you know, all these different kinds of technological advancements in the gym. But in the old days, you used to have to take the bar and somehow get it from the ground to your back.
Yes.
You know, you got like the Arthur Saxon lift, which I was just doing a little bit of research on, where the guys just basically jimmy the weight up their back to their shoulders. I don't know how that, I mean, mad props to those old strong men from like the turn of the century.
Well, we would get two guys and have them lift the bar up and then step underneath it.
Yeah.
I just remember that just now, but a lot of people today, or many people, don't know what it was back then. You know, they go in the gym and they do whatever they can do. The trainer tells them, as the trainer's texting somebody else when he's training them. Did you train people too?
Yes. Actually, I've been certified like 6-7 years.
Yeah.
So when I was in college, I studied communications, broadcasting, but it also gave me the freedom to go out and, like, you know, study some of my passions. One of them being nutrition, and I studied sports nutrition, a little bit of kinesiology. I went to UCLA, so naturally UCLA, that fell under the umbrella of public health, so I really didn't pursue that as a degree per se. But I went there and I studied that, and I thought, you know, broadcasting is great, and it stoked my fires, but I always wanted to get out and help, because I know a lot of people, you know, tend to come up to me, and I do some, you know, different workouts, and I thought, how can I translate, you know, my passion for fitness and turn that into something that could possibly help people? You know, because I've worked with a variety of clients, and a lot of them have had some pretty good results, and I have seen throughout the years of training people, and you know this very well, is that it just, not only the physical aspect changes when you train somebody, but you also get the self-confidence, you know, the things that you can't, you know, really solidly, tangibly identify, that, you know, they see the changes, they see the results, and it's pretty gratifying to be able to take, you know, what you learn and kind of teach those principles onto other people.
Well, it's another thing too. First of all, you see them change, but you change because your ideas change, and you learn from seeing them do something. Think, let's try this, and you think, oh, actually, good exercise. I've never done it. Maybe I'll do that myself. I did the same thing with wrestling. I'm teaching people how to wrestle and moves, and I thought, well, I'm going to try that move myself. I don't think I remember doing that. But with training, you do build confidence. You get knowledge of what works and what doesn't just by watching your clients.
Exactly.
The only downside of that whole thing is you tell them to go home and watch their diet, and they don't do their homework.
Well, my big philosophy, because I'm a huge nutrition guy, my big thing is I always have said 70-30 training, nutrition to training, or even 80-20, because training's great. Getting out there and having a solid, consistent lifting and cardio plan is good. But you have to go and because that tears down.
Yes.
The nutrition builds up. The nutrition leans you out. So if you marry the two of those together, it's huge. And I beg my clients, I'm like, give me a 3-day plan. Before I even see them, I say, give me your 3-day, you know, eating plan. And even if they don't even hand it to me, if they just start the process of writing it down, it's like self-policing, because let's say you go for that junk food.
Oh, they see what they're doing.
If you have to write it down, you're like, I'm not going to leave those M&Ms on the side, you know, and it makes a big difference. I can't stress.
It's funny how those little things do add up throughout the day. I know when I was really lean, I didn't have anything to do with carbs all week long, and my mom would try to get me to eat stuff and come over for dinner. I said, nope, I can't do that. And that made a huge difference. And now as I'm older and I can still watch what I do, there's little things I'll snack here and there because I'm not competing, and I don't have anything to prove, but I do see a difference in my stomach.
Well, and throughout the generations that you've seen, you've probably seen such a change in, you know, like nutrition techniques and different ways of, you know, people competing and bodybuilding. I mean, I remember even it was maybe a generation or so ago where they were telling people, stay away from fat, stay away from the yolks. Now this whole trend toward, well, you can eat coconut oil, you can eat whole eggs. It's interesting how we go back and forth between what you can eat, what you can't eat, and
even my cardiologist said you can eat whole eggs. They're not going to hurt you. You know, I mean, the egg is a full thing. It's the complete thing. What do you think about the high protein, low carb diet?
You know what? I believe in it to an extent. Now, you know, I have come across people who say, "Oh, low carbs," and I'm going to get rid of vegetables. Vegetables tend to get demonized because vegetables give you vitamins and minerals, and those are really important to supplement coenzymes and vitamin B and vitamin C. And you mentioned whole eggs, A, D, E, and K. Those are huge for hormonal function. So my thing with dropping your carbohydrate is, you know, I prefer that you kick out like the refined sources of carbohydrates first, because those are usually the things that are tearing apart people's diets.
I think anything white.
Exactly, exactly. Not including me. These lights are a little bright.
No, but it's like white sugar, white flour, white rice.
Yes.
That type of stuff you can eliminate. That's
slow digesting, low glycemic. I mean, that's the best way to attack it. And then I say, eat when you're utilizing them. If you're around workout time, carbohydrates are a great thing because it before the workout gives you the fuel to lift, for instance, and then afterwards, your muscles are depleted of glycogen. Good to refuel, but if there's a downtime, it's a rest day, it's not as important because your body is less likely to utilize.
Let me ask you that. Since you're on that subject, after your workout, you want to replace it with glycogen.
Yes.
I used to always take a protein drink, but then someone said to me, "No, you got to add a little sugar to that." Because is that true?
Yeah. The research now basically puts it carbohydrate to protein 2 to 1, 4 to 1.
Okay.
So what I do post workout is I take a supplement. It's a protein shake. It's actually dried sweet potato and egg white protein, and I have a piece of fruit. So it's generally about 30 grams of carbohydrate to about 10, 15. So I'm right in the middle there, and I've found that that's the best way to attack it.
You saw results with it?
Yes, post-workout, and then about an hour and a half or so later, I get a whole foods meal because your body, there's all this insulin flowing in your system after you work out. It's like, I want carbs, pulls it in, and then once that's exhausted, you have that metabolic window right after you work out, then your body's like, okay, time to replenish everything else because it goes through that pretty quickly.
That's very interesting. I'm going to start doing that. I made a pact today with myself. I'm starting to train heavier again.
Yeah.
I had some injuries. I had some surgeries, and I was taking it easy. And I look in the mirror and I think, okay, I'm not 35 anymore, but I can still get what I want by training heavier because my body responds to heavy weights.
And it's good to build the joints and everything.
Yeah, it doesn't respond to 20, 30 reps like some people. I tried it. It's no big deal.
Well, I'm a big fan of running, the scale. I mean, I see guys in the gym that are always training, powerlifting, which is great, and especially it's the specificity of movement. So if you're deadlifting, for squatting, that is your goal to get a higher bench press, higher leg, the squats, higher deadlift. Yes, but to mix it up, you go low rep if you want to work on a little more power, but then don't forget about the hypertrophy, 8 to 12, and then even to lean out for higher reps.
Yeah, what I would do at the end of in the past, what I would do is I'd do my heavy weights up to about maybe 12 reps to all the way to 2 or 3 or 4. Maybe 7 seemed to be my magic number.
Yeah.
And then I'd do one more set of about 15 reps at the end, of lighter weight. Yeah. Just to pump it out like that. And it seemed to get a balance of both sides.
And lately I've been working on a little mesocycle because it's always been difficult for me to put on weight. I'm the naturally leaner guy, and I spent so much time cross-country running that when I finally got out of running and more into lifting, I was able to put on a little more size by having those little mesocycles where I went after a little heavier weight, and then then maybe I dialed back the weight a little bit and went more for repetitions. So I like to mix it up. I mean, it keeps your body guessing. And
you still go heavy.
Yeah, I do. I mix it in. I try to, and then I do a lot of drop sets, pyramid sets,
you
rest pause.
You're one of the hardest training guys in the gym.
Thanks, Rick. I appreciate it.
Seriously, no, I see it. I think it gives me a headache. I go home.
I do that to a lot of people, apparently.
So let's talk a little bit about what you do with sportscasting.
Yeah.
How'd that come about?
Well, in addition to fitness, I've always, been a huge sports guy, and from when I was the youngest I can remember, I thought, okay, well, I love pro sports, love college sports. I watch anything that ends in ball or ing, basically. Yeah. And then, naturally growing up in Los Angeles, you see Vin Scully, you see Chick Hearn, you see Bob Miller. Yeah. I mean, we're talking about 3 of the iconic broadcasters. So when it became clear that my vertical leap just wasn't up to par, it wasn't that quick, and I didn't crack 6 feet, I knew that probably the best way to get into sports was to call them. So I would, be on the basketball court, the baseball diamond, and invariably striking out. But I thought, okay, as long as I'm sitting there watching the other people hit well or shoot well or run faster, I might as well narrate the action. And that's kind of where it started. And I got a chance to meet the 3 aforementioned broadcasters at various points in my life. I'm like, this seems pretty cool. So I always wanted to do that. I got into college, and when I was studying the fitness intermingled with my broadcasting classes, I got opportunities to write. Then I got on the radio. Then I got on the TV station. I did like 11 internships, and I found out this is what I want to do: live sports. So after I graduated, just so happened the guy over at UC Irvine who did the basketball games, he left. It was an opening there. And I jumped on that, and a mentor of mine from a class I took at Santa Monica College, his name is Lou Riggs, would direct me around, and he found us opening in television. It was for a network called WCSN, which got bought out by NBC, doing all these little Olympic sports. So even though my mind was initially on basketball, baseball, you know, the major sports, then I started calling like synchronized swimming. I started calling curling, and I started doing all these little niche sports. And before long, I found myself in places like Russia, South Korea, Italy, Spain, hosting events that I never before had imagined.
Oh my God, that's
I mean,
great.
when you go out, you know, like when you go out on your journey, it's great to like be open-minded, to just see where it takes you, because you never know. You know, you put yourself there, and it's before long you're like, wait a minute, I'm on the other side of the world, the only English-speaking guy hosting this event, and I'm like, wow. I didn't ever know that this was going to take me there.
That's a dream come true.
It was. I mean, initially I said I want to be on ESPN by the time I was 30, and I kept fighting for it. I spent a lot of time in a little outpost in the United States covering college basketball on the radio, like Denton, Texas, and Cheney, Washington. And before long, the experience, whereas a lot of people might have just said, this is not what I wanted to do, and they went off into something else, I thought, this is what I want to do, this is my dream, these are part of the sacrifices.
Yes, they are.
This is what you got to do to get there.
That's how you get your experience. Yeah. You're still doing it now.
Yes, I'm doing that. I'm writing right now. In fact, I've just finished a book that I'm shopping right now called The Creative Curse, which talks about a little bit of the challenges, internal and external, not only just in my field or any kind of creative field, but also in like whatever you want to do. I mean, my main point is if you're trying to lose weight, if you're trying to gain size, for those of you fitness-minded, or trying to lose weight, or trying to become an actor, a producer, a painter, a musician, the thing is right from the start, the odds are against you, because a lot of people want to do it, and it's a very high odds profession. Now, what separates a lot of people by and large are the people who make it are the ones who decide, you know what, everyone around me is going to tell me how tough it is. My mind's going to tell me, I don't know, this is not necessarily a good shot, but the ones invariably who make it are the ones who stick it out long haul and say, I'm going to push away the doubt. You have to go off the road that everybody takes, because most of the people, if they work the 9 to 5, or they take the general route to make their salary and do their workaday life, you got to make a left turn, go off the road, and then kind of determine your own path. Wherever that takes you, you got to be open-minded, one, and two, you got to be certain that wherever you're going to go, as long as you stick with it, as long as you do everything you possibly can, I mean, the bigger the goal, the harder that you have to work, that you're going to get there eventually.
Too many people try to discourage, you know, when you're younger, like I was younger and I was working out and maybe you're working out.
Yeah.
Those who don't work out saying, why are you doing that? You're just going to turn to fat anyway.
Yeah.
You know, no one wants to hear that. Why'd you go into wrestling? Nobody likes that.
Yeah.
But you have things in your mind that you want to do, and there's obstacles, there's roadblocks, and those roadblocks you learn to go around them and find your path.
And I think you're a great example, because you know I played music too and worked out and did, you know, hit all these little things I wanted to do, and you have accomplished all these little things in music and fitness and acting, and you've made a niche all over the place. And you and I have talked in the gym that it has a lot to do with those internal feelings, like you know where you're going and you know you're going to get there. There's no doubt. If there's any doubt, if you question yourself, you're becoming your own worst enemy, and that's part of the internal challenge that I wrote about in my book that you have to overcome. That's the first thing. And then the second thing is the rejection. You're going to get rejected. You work in a creative field, or you are searching toward a goal, there's going to be roadblocks. If you plateau, if someone says no good. How many stories have we heard where people, famous people that we know, have been told, not my thing, and then they go on to achieve great things. Actors.
Still on with Rocky.
Yes, exactly.
Years.
How many times did he was told, okay, well, I mean, even at the end, he was told, well, buy your script, but you can't be in it.
Exactly.
And can you even imagine now Rocky without Stallone?
No.
Yeah.
It's like lifting too. You go in the gym and you're going to lift 300 pounds that day, and next day you come in, you can only do 240.
Yeah.
And it's not your body that fails, it's your head.
Yeah.
Because in your mind you don't believe you can do it 2 days in a row.
Yeah, and then one of the examples I put in there too is, you know, when you get into meteorology is a whole other field. I mean, they wrote a book about this, about how meteorologists will predict partly cloudy and a 20% rain chance, even though it's going to be partly cloudy is mostly sunny, right?
Yeah.
Or 20% rain chance is 80% sun, right? But the thing is in the early days of meteorology, when they would say, oh, it's going to be sunny, and it rained, They got flooded with phone calls, and they got flooded with angry letters that people weren't happy. So people have a tendency to look at it the other way. They'll tell you, and you look, it's reinforced in schools. Our parents have played a role in that too. Oh, maybe you should go and become a lawyer or a doctor.
Oh,
that's
I've heard that so much.
You know, and then so we naturally start to question ourselves. Well, we have an 80% chance of sun, but it could rain. I better bring my umbrella.
No, you're so right about that. My mom used to tell me, "You're so good at everything, Rick. You could have been a great doctor. You could have been a great lawyer.
Yeah.
You could have been this." Well, pick one.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, why are you telling me this? Well, she had faith in me. It wasn't putting me down for what I was doing wrestling. It was just saying I could even do more.
Yeah.
And I probably could have, but you know, you only have so much energy left at the end of the day.
Yeah, and then, you know, there's a lot of people out there who said, oh, well, I wish I would have done that, but I went the more safe route because that's what I had to do. And there are situations where, you know, they're a little beyond your control, granted. But if you go away from it, and how can you expect to achieve it?
I never took the safe route.
Yeah.
I took wrestling, was very unsafe physically, and never know if you're going to get paid.
Yeah.
And all the other things along with it, with acting and all that, and residuals and all that, you never know. You go on audition, you don't get it, but then when you do, I didn't want a weekly paycheck from a business because I knew I'd get sucked in, I'd never quit.
Yeah.
So you step outside that box and you don't wait for a paycheck. You make more money on your own. You may not make that week, but the next week might double what you did this week.
Yeah.
So you take the chance to step out and do what you want to do. In bodybuilding, there was never really any money in it. Arnold made money.
Sure.
The other guys never made a dime, but I said I can do it by going in a different way, in through wrestling, and then in through commercials and this and that, and then now at my age, reflecting back on the 70s, what we did with all the things I do and monetization and sponsors, it all came back to me.
Yeah, and you know, you got to believe in the process. They always say it's not an event, it's a process. If you're trying to get somewhere in fitness, it's not an event. It's not going to one day you're going to go from going to the gym and you're going to become big or you're going to lean out. You know, you got to look at it as one day begets another day, begets another day, and then months down the line, you'll be thankful that even on that day you thought, I shouldn't go to the gym. You're thankful that you went to that gym because those reps, those extra amount of time that you put in, they add up cumulatively.
In closing, I went to the beach once when I was younger and I ran into Larry Scott. Larry Scott had been training about 10 years back then, and I'd only been training a year or two. And I said, in 10 years, I want to achieve that, because he did.
Sure.
And then you look back, it's already been 40 years later. but I did achieve it, and I stuck with it, and then I had to go into the Army, so I took a few months off, and I started training there. And I used to think to myself, just like you just said, I took those months off, but those months could have been used to keep progress going.
Sure.
But I couldn't, just that the circumstances wouldn't allow me. And I felt bad about it because I had to pick it up again and go again. That's why, I mean, days off are always good, but I never want to take a month or 2 or 3 down off and then have to feel like I got to start over again, because everything adds up at the end of the day.
Definitely, you got to be your own motivation. You can't expect someone to come along and say, don't give up, don't give up. You got to keep doing it. If you want to do it, if you want it bad enough, you got to be the one that does it.
Yeah, I mean, I get up in the bed in the morning, I'm sitting on the edge of the bed and I'm thinking to myself, nobody's here but me. My mind tells my body what it has to go to the bathroom, it has to go eat breakfast, it has to go to the gym.
Yeah.
Now, if I don't tell myself that, that body will just sit there. It's not getting a direction.
Sure.
And I thought about that a lot when my mom was in her late 90s and living alone. She had to force herself to do stuff because she lived alone. You know, it's the same principle here. Your mind has to be strong enough to tell you, I gotta go. And even when you're not feeling well, and I had my knee surgery, or I had this, and I said, I'm going to the gym, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I'm going. I'm not sitting home and feeling sorry for myself. So for all of you out there, when you find excuses not to train, there's always a way to go, even if you just go through the motions that day, because the next day is going to be better.
Yeah, and the coolest thing I found out from working out that I applied to my other, goals in life was that I learned so much about myself. I thought to myself, even there are down times, we all have them, but when I had those down times in my other, passion, I thought, well, I go to the gym all the time. I do that extra rep. I do this. Anytime I walk in the gym, I believe I can do that.
Yeah.
Why can't I just take that on those days in which I'm not feeling it outside the gym? Why don't I just take that same mindset? And you learn a lot about yourself from your workouts, from what you do, because you're able, by and large, to do that extra rep, do that extra mile, whatever it is, and just apply it to everything else in life.
There's one man who did that. Arnold.
Yep. Yes, he is. Everything overcame accent, everything that was against him.
Everything was against him, he made it happen.
Yep.
Well, thank you, Danny. Where can people reach you if they want to?
You can go to my website. I actually have a couple of them. DannyLeeSportscasting.com for the sports casting part of it. I got my reel on there. You can get in touch there. Or DannyLeeFitness.com if you're interested in finding out more about my fitness-minded life. Either website works to get a hold of me.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for being
Thanks
here.
a lot, Rick. Appreciate it, man.
Pardon the missing finger. You always say, what happened to Rick's finger? Let me just tell you before I close. I got up one morning, my hair and my finger were gone. and I have no idea where they went. I've never been able to find it since. I can count to 9. I be home at 3:15. I go to scary movies. I can't hide my eyes. And that's the way it goes.
We put an all points bulletin out for those.
Yeah, we're looking for that finger. If you ever find it, let me know, because I can't put my finger on it. Thanks for watching Rick's Corner, and we'll see you all next time. See ya. I just want to remind all of you, yes, you can still order the Gold's Gym logo, the one I designed in 1973. That was the largest selling t-shirt logo in the world. It's a piece of art history. I drew it, and now I can draw it for you on an 8x10 paper. I will autograph it to you and sign it, put your name on it. Each one is hand-drawn separately for you. They're not prints or reproductions. Each one is different, because every time you draw something, it comes out a little bit different, but it's the Gold's Gym logo. And so if you would like to order it, you can get it off my website, rickdrasin.com, order it through PayPal. If you go to my website and scroll down, you'll see the order button. Go ahead and order. I'll make it out, and I'll send it right out to you. You can frame it, put it on your wall in your house, in your gym, or your garage, wherever you want. But it's a one-of-a-kind, and it will go down in history as the largest logo in the world. Thank you. Now back to the show.
It's rickdrasin.com. He is the equalizer, baby. See you next time.